In today's video, I'm going to be discussing two major things. Number one, the scaling strategy that 8-9-figure brands use, and also their ad account structure as number two. How are these companies actually structuring their meta ad accounts, right? How are they testing? How are they scaling? How are they also testing landing pages and concepts, right? I'm going to show you everything, including one of our own clients, so you see it with your own eyes. So if you want that part of the video, make sure to stick until at least the middle part of this video. In case you are a new viewer, just so you know the type of caliber of clients that we're typically used to working with, this is just one of our own clients that in just one day in this month generated $47,000 in sales. And this is not a case study, as I always say in the videos. It's just for me to show you the type of caliber of clients that we're typically used to working with. Great, so let's jump right into it. Before I talk about, so I'm going to divide this video once again into two sections: the meta side, testing phases on scaling phases, how to implement it on the ad account. Second part of the video, before I want to give you some foundations, which is the scaling strategies that these companies are using, including our clients, of course, right? So this is what we're doing for our clients as well, the brands that we manage. So what are most companies doing? What are most brands actually doing right now? Which is what I think is not the right way, and why they're typically stuck to like low 8 figures or 7 figures. So they do broad avatar targeting, and I'm going to talk about how this is kind of like a double-edged sword, okay? And once they find something that works, maybe you can resonate this, something that works well for them, they just focus on doing more creatives with similar concepts, similar scripts, similar creative concepts, and just quite small iterations, which are not really moving the needle forward and making the ad account and structure basically of the company going from like level 1 or level like 3 to level 1, okay? And so this is typically what happens, is that maybe you scale to like 100, 300, 500k a month, maybe $1 million a month, who knows? In most cases not, but with one product, and that's fine, with one avatar, with like 1, 2, or 3 angles maximum, and then a bunch of iterations. And typically this is what happens: you reach the ceiling. Every single time, regardless of the strategy you use, you are going to hit a ceiling, okay? So that's normal. So this is the only like part that I resonate with, but this is where the model just is stuck. It's just too small. It's not really scalable, and all of your business, most importantly, is reliant on this process. So the major problem with this model, as I said, is that you just reach a ceiling, and it's really hard to scale up while maintaining very healthy margins. Great, so now let's approach how 8 and 9 figure brands are actually scaling and approaching this. Okay, so number one is the avatar itself. They are a lot more specific in actually coming across avatars and doing a lot more research. So I'm going to go in that part in just a second. But as you can immediately notice, they do their iterations, they find their winning ads, but they test a lot more angles. And if I could fit more in this diagram, I would. But they test way more angles. So they're just good at just selling the same product in 50 different ways instead of just 1 or 2 or 3 different ways. And their avatar customers, as I said, is typically not like super broad. For example, instead of targeting people that have like foot pain, they target people that have foot pain because they like to run and exercise a lot, or because they are like overweight, right? A specific long tail avatar. And so in this person is becoming stressed, and you get the point. Same thing example. We're not targeting, typically in most cases, like 90, 80, 90% of the time, they're not targeting somebody who has back pain randomly, right? Broad, super broad. They're targeting somebody who has back pain because they are working 10 plus hours a day in front of the computer, and because of that, they basically are not developing back muscles, and they're also maybe in weird postures, and because of that, they have back pain, and because of that, they can't show up to work. They feel like 30 years older. You get the point. So like long tail specific avatars, but that still have a very big TAM, the addressable market. If you go after too much of a specific avatar, then you're probably going to be expensive to find them, and it's not scalable, right? So this is what they're doing. But as I said here, 8-figure brands understand the skill of selling one product, as I said before, in 50 different ways, creative ways, while tapping into different markets, and in many cases, less competitive markets, right? Also, their avatar customer is typically a lot more specific. This is what it looks like, and I wish I could scale this even more, but they basically build foundations for every avatar customer, including sales processes and sales journey. So this is their scaling strategy. Instead of relying on one avatar and like one or 2 angles, they typically once again, I wish I could fit this more, but this should be like more like 6 to 9 angles each. So it should be like double or triple what I'm showing you over here. it didn't fit in the diagram. So they do one avatar, 6 to 9 different angles. They find the winners, and then they do the iterations. They do essentially what the 7-figure brand does, but just at mass scale, vertically and horizontally, right? Vertically by just testing more angles, and horizontally by just testing more avatars and doing more of that thing, right? So you should kind of see this. This has one funnel, this has another funnel, this also has another funnel. And the way that you can test avatars, which I can talk about later, is that you don't have to build an entire funnel from the get-go, but you can like start with ads. So you test 5 avatars, right? Or if you want to stick to one avatar, you test like multiple different angles with the same avatar, which is like one ad set, right? I'm going to show you, and just stick with me until the next part of the video, because I'm going to dive deeper into the structure of the ad account and how you can test these things on the ad account. But before I get into that, what's really, really important is that as you are doing a lot of research with your avatars, you have to make sure that it's a perfect type of avatar. What do I mean by that? This is an avatar that is just too broad. So you're going after like a $50 billion market, and this is you competing against everyone. So even if you are a major brand and you already built the leverage, it's still hard because there's a lot of people competing. My battery is dying. There's a lot of people competing against you, and it's becoming more expensive. This is an example of something that is too niche, right? You're going after whatever broad market, but the avatar that you're targeting is just like too specific. For example, I don't know, people that have back pain because they were pro athletes. How many pro athletes are there in like even the world? In the US, I think there's like 20,000 pro athletes. So, I mean, doesn't really make sense. If the TAM is too small, right, it doesn't make sense. So we want to go typically after like, 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion TAMs or something like that, where it's a perfect combination between not too niche and not too broad, where we can go and enter a market and enter a scenario where we are not competing against like 300,000 brands, but we are creating our own kind of ecosystem, which is much more scalable. Is this the only thing that you need to think about, like the avatar? No, because you can also go after like a super broad avatar, but because of the way that you're positioning your product, right, the marketing angle that you're positioning it, it's kind of still creating this blue ocean offer instead of like a red ocean offer, right? Blue ocean meaning that it's less competitive. So this is super, super important. This is what I just said, right? This is too small. This is like too broad. This is too small, and this is like perfect. I'm not going to go over these concepts once again, okay? Now, one last thing before I share with you over here, as I say, I'm going to go over the ad account stuff, so bear with me with just a second. Also show you the ad account for a client. But the thing that's really important that is allowing brands to scale to 8 figures is the research behind these avatars. Why 8 figures get to 8 figures, 8-figure brands or 9-figure brands get to those levels is because they do more research, number one. And because they do more research, they understand what the customer, the avatar persona, actually wants to see. And they are able to build better offers, right? Better ecosystems in terms of the sales process, from ad to advertorial to offer to landing page, whatever, to checkout. And so everything is a lot more congruent with much higher conversion rates. This is typically what happens, right? The other scenario that I can think of as 8 to 9-figure brands is like they do super broad marketing, but their funnel is like so on point. And it's they do maybe quiz funnels, right? So they find like super high converting funnel, which by the way doesn't even convert as well, because they're just targeting such a broad audience that it's like one of those funnels where it's like super large on the top because everybody's coming in, and then it's super thin on the bottom because it's not a lot of people are getting filtered out essentially, right? So I mean, there's many ways to do it. I've just seen avatars to be a lot more sustainable and consistent, high converting, profitable, right? So which is what we want to achieve. So let's talk about the ad account infrastructure. I'm going to give you an idea of how we set it up for a client first, and then I'm going to jump into this diagram. So let's go over this example of this client. In this for this month, in the last 30 days, we spent over $125,000 with a 3.8x return. So not like huge ad spend, but in this scenario, we're scaling and we're doing our best for this client. But regardless of the spend, the way that we're structuring this is with like a 3-2-2 strategy. So essentially, we have an account. Each campaign is divided by product or country. And so if in this case, we're selling to the US, and so we don't have to like divide into different countries, into different tiers and countries, but we divide based on essentially products. Okay, and so in this example, we have one product per one campaign. Let's just take a look at this one that spent 64 grand, and let's take a look inside. As you can see over here, 64,000, 2.82x return. The way that we're structuring this is essentially each ad set is like either an avatar, an angle, or a creative concept, or kind of like a combination of all. And we don't want to like have, the way that we structure this is that we typically use like two ways of displaying ads. Okay, the first way is like we use just a flexible ad, so we put like three headlines, three concepts, three like images or videos, two headlines, two ad copies, the 3-2-2 strategy into the ad level. And so it's like a flexible ad, and so it's literally just a flexible ad. You're gonna see one ad, and then Facebook decides what to use. The other approach that we do this is that we just do like 3 to 5 individual ads, which can be also an advantage if we want to do like more specific analysis or tests. But I'm going to bring you through that in just a second. The ad account structure, once again, is very, very simple. This is what we use to test and scale. In some cases, we also use ABOs, okay, for testing. But each ad set that you see over here on this ad account, all of these ones that you're seeing that are active and actively spending, right, are like, of course, campaigns that are scaling and working and getting the majority of the spend, and are individual ads concepts, angles or avatars, or a combination of all these things. You should focus and put your priorities to have like 3, 4, 5 of these concepts and ad sets launched every 7 days or at the end of each week, right? This is how we do it. So this is the ad account structure to test avatars. And the reason why I want to talk about avatars is because we are also assuming, based on what I showed you over here, that one great way to scale horizontally is by testing different avatars. And you'll see that testing different avatars will give you like different CPMs, because targeting the lady that is 50 that has back pain is different, that is working in 9 to 5 is different than going after a 20-year-old who has back pain because she does sports. I don't know, just random example. So they're going to give you different CPMs because they're different verticals, different levels of competition of who is actually going after those avatars, so on and so forth. And so once we do all the research and we come up with angles, right, then we basically structure, once again, CBO campaign. The way that we do it is that we want to give an avatar a shot, right, at least 3 to 5 ad sets, which basically means that each ad set over here has around 3 to 5 ads. So let's just say it's 3. This is 1, 2, 3, so we basically have 9. We're testing 9 to 18 ads per avatar. So the way that we name our ad sets within a CBO is that we have avatar, the angle that we're using, the creative concept, and then the image, whether we're using a GIF, image, or video. So essentially, without even have to going through everything and seeing, we can filter these kind of like the way that we're naming the concepts into the ad account very clearly. So we don't go crazy finding these things. And so we also know at first impact in like 5 seconds, just by reading the ad set, what the entire test is about and why it works, right? And so avatar 1, the only difference between these 3 is like it's the same avatar, we're just testing different angles, which is what I showed you over here, right? Different angles, right? One avatar, different angles. These would be like each individual ad sets, right? The reason why we don't want to just do like 1 or 2 angles is because we want to give it a shot. And so we typically test 3 to 6 angles at least. If it just sucks and it doesn't work and the CPMs are just not scalable, CPMs take into consideration that it's also the quality of your ad. You can go after competitive markets, even if it's a lot harder, but you can go after competitive markets, broad markets, and like crush it with your ads. Your ads are impeccable, amazing, at least from a customer standpoint and experience, and you can enter your way in. But in most cases, it's just really hard to go in. And so what we try to do is just do the best that we can with ads, of course, that's a given. But we also want to go and test different avatars and different angles to approach our marketing in a different way. So this is the way that we do it. And then if we want to test another avatar, we do the same exact thing. The flexible ads or 3 to 5 ads separated, it's up to you. We kind of like to test both for different reasons. With flexible ads, you kind of have like, the most important thing, honestly, guys, is that, these ads are within the same realm. So, for example, if we decide to do avatar 2, angle 1, creative concept 1, and then we do like videos instead of images, right? This is like specific to videos. all these things in the ads better be like within this concept, within this angle for the avatar, and they're all videos. If they're all different, then it's just like it doesn't make sense. So within the same ad set, there needs to be congruency with the ads. You can't have like two images in one video and then the images are about something else and the video is about something else. They have to be congruent. So this is how to structure the ad account. It's really simple, guys. I don't do a lot of ad account structure videos just because it's really simple and what you should not really focus on. But I'm doing this one because I get a lot of requests. Now let's talk about ad account testing and scaling rules. You can just take a screenshot. Keep in mind, we don't always follow these rules to the T, but if you're kind of like stuck and you don't know what to do and you're kind of confused with how you want to navigate through things, I advise you to at least follow this structure. So let's read what I wrote over here. Add 3 to 4 creative tests on your ad account every 7 days. So what does that mean? One creative test is composed of around three ads, okay? Which is basically one concept that has like maybe different hooks or a different body or something like that, or a different UGC creator. You get the point. So it's like iterations. And so 3 to 4, let's just say 3 concepts a week is like 9 to 12 total ads per week. 4 is like 4 times 3, so 12 to 15, I guess, right? You get the point. And so you want to do that every single week. Our approach here, once again, is not to scale and do like 200 ads a month or 200 ads a week. That's not the point. It's to do like intent-based and research-based ads. So put all of your energies and efforts into the research, customer mining, understanding what they want, reading the comments, do all that stuff so that you can come up with like interesting creative concepts, okay? Or creative tests. Each ad set will either be a new marketing angle or a new creative concept or a new avatar you want to test, or a combination of both. What is a creative concept? A creative concept is like AI voiceover videos versus us versus them image ad. They're like two different types of creative concepts. They're different concepts, right? So keep this in mind. Management rules, testing, okay? Testing, very simple. Check the ad account every 3 to 7 days. Okay, don't panic every 1 day or 2 days. Give it 3 days. Whenever you test a new ad set, right? So listen closely. If the ad set doesn't spend, okay, it just doesn't spend, turn off after 7 days. Why? Because we don't want to be in a position where we have a CBO with 100 ad sets just because they didn't spend, right? So first of all, it clutters your ad account and it makes it confusing for Facebook. Second of all, if you have 100 ad sets, over the time, even if they're spending $1 a day each, it stacks up. You're losing money, okay? Especially if you're spending a lot. Imagine spending like $5,000 a day and you have like 250 ad sets and only like 10 are taking the majority spend and all the rest are like spending $1 a day. You do the math. I mean, you're losing like 5, 7, 10 grand a month. I don't know. So number 2, if ad set gets significant spend, so it's spending, but the CPA is bad, turn it off after 7 days. The positive note is that it's getting spent, which is telling you that Facebook likes this concept or this idea and it wants to really give it a shot, but it's just not profitable. So at that point, your takeaway should be, hey, let's maybe do iterations on this angle, avatar, whatever that thing that was getting spent, but let's just turn this off because it's not profitable. Okay, 7 days. Next thing over here. If the ad set gets significant spend fast, within 1 to 2 days, and it gets like 95% of everything, even like the other thing. So it's like, whoa, what's going on? And it's spending like, it already spent like 4 to 5 to 6 times the ideal cost per acquisition. So if your ideal cost per acquisition is $50 and it spends like, $250 just 1 day or 2 days, and it's just like kind of ruining everything, just turn it off. It's not worth having it on. It's crazy. The good note, once again, it's just getting this majority spend, which is telling you that Facebook wants to really give this this concept a shot because it's seeing its scalability potential. Okay. Next, if your ad set gets a lot of spend and the CPA is great or doesn't hurt the business, leave it on, right? Or you can scale it, and I'll talk about scaling later. If your ad set gets low spend and the CPA is great on the other side, so you know those ad set that maybe you're spending $1,000 a day, they only spend like $50 or maybe $100, but they're profitable, just leave it on and reevaluate in 7 days. If the ad set is just stagnant and after 7 days it loses performance, then you can reevaluate, okay, and go from there. For scaling, if the campaign level has great CPA, increase the budget by 20% every 24 hours. Keep in mind that you can be a bit more aggressive if you're spending like less than $1,000 a day, or like even like 1,500, maybe even $2,000 a day. You can maybe be a bit more aggressive. So go from like instead of going from like 2,000 to 2,400, right? You go from like 2,000 to like 3.7, or 2.7 or 3, right? So you like scale by like 30% or 35%. The thing is that when you're spending like 5, 10, 20 grand a day, going from like 20 grand to like 40 grand, it's really risky because your budgets are already high and your impressions are already high and you're reaching out to a lot of people. And so it's like, you have to be, that's when you can like scale by 15-20% at the most, because then it's like too much. Then if the campaign shows bad CPA for more than 3 days in a row, scale down by 20%. I'll give you an example for this one. Let's just say you launch a winner on your ad account, it's healthy, and it's spending, I don't know, $500 a day, and for like 3 days in a row, right? Or even just like 2 days, and it's doing well. Just every day that goes by, try to increase it by 20%. It's profitable. After you do it again, do it again, and still you see like there's stagnation. If there's stagnation for, I would say, like 2 to 3 days where it's just not profitable at that budget, decrease the budget down by 20% each day until you reach the stability again. Okay, one note here. The ad account should have a minimum spend, whether it's 800, 1,000, 500, whatever, that we can not go below. Why is this important? Because we can descale as much as possible, but we still need enough budget to test the ad account and test concepts. So you might be in a position, maybe if you're starting out, where you just need to set a minimum, right? That minimum could be $100 a day, $500 a day. You will have to decide that based on your budgets and the creatives that you have in hand to test. But you can't just decrease until you get to zero, or else it doesn't make any sense. Next thing, note, for scaling, the above works well across all budgets, but keep in mind that when your budgets are low, as I said before, like 200, 500, 1,000 per day, you can decide to be a bit more aggressive with the scaling process. I already went through this. Let's go over testing landing pages very quickly because I get a lot of requests. I received the question, so how do you test actually landing pages, right? How does it actually work for testing landing pages like on the ad account? The way that we do it is like we have used several ways. We can do it in a CBO. So one way that we do it here is that, whoops, not sure what happened, is that we test basically, we can duplicate the winning ad set that was giving the best performance. We duplicate it, and then within that ad set, we so this is the winner. So we duplicate the winner over here, and then within that ad set, we duplicate the ads just with a different landing page. So it's kind of like an extra layer here. So we're just duplicating everything, and then we're just renaming this to like landing page test. And then what Facebook should do is like these ads are the same. The only difference is the landing page. So this is a great way to test it. If you don't want to test it in the CBO campaign, you can actually set a different test on an ABO. It kind of like launch 2 ad sets. One, like you can also just launch 1 ad set, which is the winner, just so you have maybe a bit more control, and it doesn't like if you're too afraid to like fuck up your CBO. In my experience, like this is fine. But if you don't want to touch your CBO for whatever reason, you can just set an ABO and just do the same concept. Just give it some time and put a budget, and then you can launch this structure, right? So winning ad with like winning ad set with winning ads, just duplicated with just a different landing page. Okay, that is it for this video. I just wanted to touch base on like ad account structures, testing and scaling rules, and also how to test this avatar approach, which is very useful in my opinion based on my experience, and it works. And then most importantly, I wanted to bring you through kind of like the structure of scaling a brand horizontally with more angles and more avatars. Everybody just stops at just one thing and put all the eggs in one basket. I don't think it's the best way to scale, in my opinion. That is it for this video. If you want to get on a call with me or my team to explore the opportunity of working together, please do. If you are a brand doing at least plus or minus $100,000 a month, we can hop on a call, do an audit, and explore the opportunity, as I said, to work together if we still have capacity. That is it for this video. See you on the call, and hopefully see you in the next video as well. Bye.